because it's in the white.
And
it's on the white part of the wall.
To the left. Great.
To the left, to the left, to the right. Okay, so anyway, so and that's what I noticed, and that's why some actors, and you can feel free to push back on this because acting is what you do. I like watching it and stuff, but so
I think there's some game show environments, like Survivor shows or even Housewives of Atlanta, where people are essentially playing themselves, but it's an exaggerated version of themselves, or it's a version told to them by production. Like, I think, even on those shows, I think they say, okay, well, this is our villain. This is our good guy. This is the one who's going to be the victim. This is one who's going to cry in the car ride. They identify moments, but then they give you like a big swath of time to develop what you're going to do.
I'll take you one better and darker, because you just opened the door and we're going to walk through it. I don't think that's established in the beginning. What I think happens is they put those kids, because I've actually heard they put those kids on the real world and stuff in situations to get an emotional response. Take that emotional response, edit it, and find emotional responses and start to build a narrative on that person that never happened.
Yeah, the writing happens in editing.
Exactly.
But I think that's initially. But then once they're identified, once they see, okay, well, this guy's naturally a villain, or this guy's naturally the altruistic hero, then they can start to sculpt. I mean, that happens also in real shows, too, that are fully scripted. It's like when you see the chemistry between two characters, the writer may have initially thought, well, these guys are going to be, at war with each other, but then all of a sudden in season 2, they're being romantic because they had such good chemistry, So it's like when you're on a production, I think they just kind of look at all the ingredients they have to play with, and they kind of reassess.
I think if you're a bigger name, you can do that. I think if you're a littler name, unfortunately, you have to kind of stay, because, those producers and stuff come into the editing rooms and stuff, and they sit down. They used to give the full trust sort of to the director, but now a lot of times the directors get squeezed out. So you might have a producer editing your movie. Like, for example, Ed Norton, he actually edited the movie. What's that called? When he played the neo-Nazi. American History X.
Yeah, American History. Yeah.
He edited that movie. Like, that was supposed to be like a TV drama. He edited it to be sort of theatrical. Him and Danny Kaye were at war with each other. So he wanted American History X Danny Kaye to be sort of in a, I guess like a T.J. Hookerish, I guess like a Hill Street Blues, some The Wire type of thing. And I think Ed Norton, being an A-list actor, said, no, anything I'm at, we're taking to the top.
Powerful, yes.
So he jumped in the editing room and he actually edited the movie. So it's amazing that when you start to hear stories like that, Danny Kaye got kicked, he filmed it, but, editing is so important. A lot of the, a 30-second soundbite is also needs to kind of take you under, change your life, a 30-second soundbite. That's it, But I guess it's just according to how powerful of a PR staff you have. I think you have to have really strong, I'm talking about 5-figure to 6-figure PR staffs these days. So when people come at you, you have to really, that PR has to really be needed. They have to guide you through the process. All the PR people already have outlets where they can get stories out. They might just have to hold you down for 2 years. Stay low for 2 years. Okay, boom, start shooting to our sources. Variety. LA Times, LA Weekly, boom, start pumping little stories, little feelers to feel how the public feels about you. Okay, yeah, I remember him. Oh, yeah, what he did was messed up, but yeah, he's kind of cool. Okay, boom, let's start pumping more stuff out there, show you some pictures doing cool stuff like jogging or hugging a dog or like axe throwing. Okay, he's kind of cool, he does activity. I do it. I like axe throwing. I throw axes sometimes. Boom, next thing you know, he has a girlfriend. Who's new girlfriend? Oh, the new Russian actress. Laura Kostovsky. Oh, they look good together. Yeah, she was just in that movie. Wow, yeah. Man, he should do bigger things. If he's with her, he should be in a bigger production. Oh, guess what he just got? Oh, the 4th supervillain in the new Marvel movie. Oh, wow, yeah, I remember him from such and such. Yeah, I just told you Robert Downey Jr.'s Climb Back. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it is. It's PR.
Yeah.
You have to have such a strong PR. It's not only absorbing the brunt and watering down the brunt, no matter how horrible the thing you did. Because people, I mean, shoot, Caitlyn Jenner, like, she straight killed people. She allegedly killed people. They're dead people because of. But you look at her now, and then she was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So apparently that, you know.
There are some actors out there too, though. Their PR arm is working and promoting the fact that they were in a movie, and then they go to the premiere, they walk the red carpet, they sit down to see the final cut that's being released, the world premiere, and they don't see themselves in the movie because the editor, the director cut them out.
Mickey
and
Rourke
didn't even tell them.
Thin Red Line. Mickey Rourke thin. That's why they hate Terrence Malick too, because Terrence Malick will have big actors and they will sit in the movie and be prepared to watch themselves and don't see themselves. I think Sean Penn, he was cut out of a Terrence Malick film as well. So yes, that does happen, and you know it's crazy. Okay, picture what's even worse. This is even worse. Picture you're a wholesome young girl, wholesome, and this is your second movie. You do the whole movie and stuff like that. They call you in on certain days and blase this, blase that. You do your lines. There's a little passionate scene you do, but you know, you don't really do anything. You watch the movie and they brought in a body double. And they don't show your face. They just show angles of the body double who looks like you having gratuitous intercourse on the screen, but you never did it. So now everybody thinks, oh, that's you. And you never did anything. You never touched anybody. You never did a thing. You just sat there and you did your lines and did a little kissing scene, made you uncomfortable. They calmed you down, gave you some lemon water. You know, hey, okay, it's going to be all right. You know, you got to walk around the set for a little while. You get you ready. Okay, do the scene again. Okay, I'm sorry I got to do this and everything. I know you're cool, though. You know. But then in the movie, there's this gratuitous sex scene. And it's just like, it's controversial. I'm like, oh, my gosh. How horrible that was. And it was never you.
This sounds very personal. Did this happen to you?
Yes, it did. But it was a training film for OSHA. Something about don't run across wet floors. So, anyway, I don't know how gratuitous sex scene got in there, but apparently, I don't know. But you know, different countries, they different rules, and you can't
know with OSHA.
You know, crazy. So don't do this on the wet floor. So I guess anyway. So yes, no. But I'm just thinking that's horrible because you have no control over your image.
Yeah, I mean, on certain levels, I would think that wouldn't happen to an A-list actor, but certainly someone in a minor role.
A major agency, major agency, yeah, we'll rebuff that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, like a CAA. Oh, excuse me, well, we just saw your film. Yeah, you're going to take that out right now. Okay, I'm sorry. I know we just tried. You know, I know you tried. No, you know, we just thought a man, a woman, and maybe a raccoon. No, okay, you cut that scene out right now, and the raccoon needs a psychologist or something. So. Let me ask you a question that just came to my head, okay? Have you ever done a production and they showed an angle, and when you were watching the angle that they put up there, you just cringed. You're like, oh my gosh. These people, like, it's almost like you're like, what was he thinking? What was she thinking?
Angle of me?
Yes, as an actor. Because you have no control over your image or the image that the director...
Yeah, I mean, you have to trust the director, you know. And sometimes, I mean, what I will see, and what I really appreciate... And they'll do with me as well is they'll have you come look, or they'll film something, they'll play it back so you can see the angle that you're being filmed at, and they actually ask you for input. I mean, but that's very rare. Normally, you just have to trust.
You know, it's crazy because when you did that movie for me, I had no intention of showing you. I just locked that down. I ran out with it. I said, no, because
that does come to mind. That was a really bad angle.
No, it's not a bad angle for the part.
That was, but I mean, I think you can kind of watch it and think, okay, well, yeah, I think they filmed that for audio purposes only and just decided to use the video. So that's kind of what you did.
Just the look was very manic. We'll talk about that in a second, and we'll put up the link to it. But you did marvelous in that. But
thanks. But you know, actually, let me segue back to the SAG thing because I wanted to mention that now I'm SAG Fi-Core.
What's that?
And what that means is. I can sit on the fence. I can do non-union work and union work equally and not be penalized because I notified SAG that I wanted to activate my Fi-Core status. And what that means is that I'm still a dues-paying member, but I pay maybe 10% less in dues. I still have a card, although I can't go around showing it saying, hey, I'm a SAG member, hire me. But it's known that if you are SAG Fi-Core that you are a member, but now you've chosen, because you live in a right-to-work state, to also work non-union jobs. So for someone in my place, what I was finding is that, I would get some SAG work. I'd do some SAG commercials. but I was also getting offered non-union work. And sometimes, especially during the pandemic, the non-union work might pay more or the same as some SAG work.
Well, they have to pay now, right? You can't do any work. Most of the time, especially the college productions?
Well, I mean, even college productions now have agreements with SAG. But SAG, this is a whole controversy, but SAG has been like trying to become more competitive. So they have these ultra low paying contracts. Mm-hmm. I've been on productions where I've actually I've made less as a principal than a non-union extra.
That's how I hear.
Because I'm under a SAG low-paying contract to be saying lines and being a guest star on something, but there are non-union extras making more money than me.
Well, here's why that is, Ray. It's because they know that being SAG and you doing a production like that adds your value as a SAG, and that adds your value to get on real sets. Like, you're not going to get on a real set, even of a TV show doing non-union. Non-union, they got to pay you extra, the incentive for you to be in it. See, the incentive for you to be in this anything SAG is that, okay, now I can go official now. When I go to a audition for a SAG production, they're going to say, okay, he's done SAG work or she's done SAG work. They're not going to look at non-union. It doesn't register to them, because they're professionals. Professionals only see professional. When they see, when somebody looks at your resume, they don't see any of the amateur work they're doing. If it's a professional production, their mind is already filtered a lot of things out. If they really, 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 really like you, that's when they look for an excuse to get you in the door. Okay, dang, he doesn't have any of this. Okay, I can say that to everybody.
But I think you're missing my point. The point is, a SAG person shouldn't be making less money than a non-union person on the same production. And so that was one of the criteria that made me decide to become Fi-Core. So that also I wouldn't have anyone, if I did accept non-union work, I wouldn't be a scab. I wanted to do things above board. So being a Fi-Core, what that essentially means for anyone that's listening that might be thinking to do the same thing, is you're notifying SAG that you want to activate your Fi-Core status. That way you can do the non-union work as well and add that to your reel, and work begets work. So now you've got more samples of work that will get you more work down the road. And then if you get that, for me, if you get that season regular gig where you're making $1,000 a year working on every episode of a series, at that point, I would say no more non-union work. Let me go ahead and reactivate my SAG status. So essentially what you're doing is petitioning SAG to readmit you. You have to pay that $3,000 or $4,000 again. But at that point, it's chump change if you're making oodles of thousands of dollars as a season regular. So for me, and it's a personal decision for every actor, but for me, it makes sense to be Fi-Core. There's some major actors that are Fi-Core. John Voight is Fi-Core. A lot of these people don't promote the fact that they're Fi-Core, but it allows them to do these non-union gigs that they would have to otherwise turn down because they're union, and maybe they don't get as many union offers to pay all the bills. So that's my reasoning.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And if you hear about a lot of people who have gotten through the door, through Taft-Hartleys. And that's just, you know what a Taft-Hartley is?
Yes, that's the whole 3-voucher rule that you're talking about.
A Taft-Hartley that I'm familiar with is if they see you on a set and you're a character that they cannot get who's SAG, they can make you SAG automatically on the set. You become SAG. They can clear everything. They make you SAG eligible, and you can actually pay later. In fact, the money that they pay you, you can actually they use it towards your SAG. So you can get SAG'd on the spot.
Sure. Any producer can decide to make you SAG overnight.
Or director.
Yeah.
Or an actor. An actor could. That's why a lot of people get in the door as an actor. Hey, check my boy out. Well, we just can't check him out. We got to do the paperwork. So it's amazing that not a lot. But people get through the door on Taft-Hartley's quite often. But then if people come out here for like years and years and years and years and years, they get the vouchers, they do all the rules, but they find out that, boom, that one way right there. Get you in the door.
Get you in the door, but then what do you do once you're through the door and you don't have the skills to stay in the door? And that's what a lot of the Taft-Hartleys, that's the problem, is that a lot of people do become SAG overnight, but then they don't have the skills to continue getting work unless their buddy's going to keep giving them contracts.
Hollywood is about an image that you can play. If you can play, say you're a thug, and you can play a thug effectively, then that's and you don't go away from that. You stay in your wheelhouse. Then you become known as the thug. And like when they think, hey, let's we need a thug for this movie. Like a third speaker. We give them speaking lines. SAG, okay. Oh, like a Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo's like that. Danny Trejo, you never see a Danny Trejo romantic lead. You never see him in pretty much any.
Unless it's a comedy and they're playing against type.
But I've never seen him. I've never seen Danny Trejo play anything but a killer. And most of the killer, in a lot of the movies he plays a killer, he plays with Robert Rodriguez, which they developed a relationship. I think as long as you stay marketable in the image that you've chosen, I think you can always make a living. And some people have done it for timeless. I think it's once the creative aspect gets in the way, I believe that's when ego gets in the way, and that's when I would believe a lot of people fall. Because it's a business. They don't care how good you are. They just care that you can play that character.
But
That's all they care.
There's thousands of people out there that can play thugs. So, I mean, if you're going to pigeonhole yourself to one type of character, you've got to be the best thug out there. Otherwise, you're competing with 1,000 other people for that same thug
Or
job.
the thug just had the most airtime. Remember, a lot of things come down to esoteric symbolization. You might come on a screen. And all of a sudden, for example, if people see you playing a thug 10 times, you walk on into the movie, you become the thug. You don't have to gain their trust as an actor. So a lot of times you come into a movie, you have to gain the audience's trust, and the audience has to believe that that's your part.